Hi, and welcome to class session 6 for Ed 407-507. Let's go ahead and take a look at our agenda this week. We're going to talk about the assignments that were due, new assignments, talk about the new topic with declarative knowledge as you just completed that reading from last week, look at a few activities with that as well, and then we'll wrap things up. Here are the assignments that were due as of class session 5. Let's go ahead and look at the class session 6 assignments that are due. Read chapter 6 of Hudson and Miller and skim section 2 and taking the reading quiz. You should submit your draft of your declarative lesson plan and also the Blackboard activity involving integers. Part of your project for this week and activity that I would like you to do is take a look at the website list that I provided you within Blackboard and keep this as a resource for yourself. As the book had discussed in chapter 5, computer-based instruction is a great way to build declarative knowledge, and so I wanted to provide you with different resources that I've come across that are most of them are free that you can utilize within your classroom as long as your students have access to a computer. Also, I have given these websites to parents at the very beginning of the year just to be like, here are some activities that can help your student in the area of math. I've highlighted the ones that I would like you to try if you have access to doing them at home. So I encourage you to utilize it in that way as well. I also have come to understand, and I'll speak about this in just a moment, that sometimes our students, especially students on IEPs who have more cognitive issues, especially with memorization, as that's a huge part of declarative knowledge, that giving them other resources and tools to help build is really going to benefit them in the end. The password, by the way, for this week is the word polygons. Please email that to me as soon as you get the chance. So let's go ahead and dive into declarative knowledge. There are a variety of basically of effective instructional practices that may be used to help students develop this declarative knowledge that they need to succeed in school, mathematics, as well as in many functional skills needed outside of school, obviously. Although practice is a major component of the development of declarative knowledge, it is so important to keep in mind that it is also the ability with rote memorization tasks. Students still need that teacher-directed explicit instruction with math concepts and procedural strategies in order to apply what they know in math in different settings in and outside of the classroom. Typically, the instruction precedes the development of declarative knowledge, and teachers of mathematics are challenged to provide that balance that includes the instruction in all of the important areas with a combination of quality instruction and quality practice that will increase the likelihood of high student achievement. As the book had mentioned, and I think this is quite important that I don't think you should overlook, is the rationale behind declarative knowledge. In mathematics, it is so necessary for students to develop strong mathematical competency. Declarative knowledge helps students experience success as they quickly progress through the math curriculum. The ability to memorize and retrieve information quickly is particularly important due to the hierarchy nature of mathematics. As we know, everything kind of builds on the next skill that we learn, and it becomes more complex over time. Declarative knowledge also is important in terms of maintaining math skills and generalizing math skills from school to other environments. And really, as research has shown, the memorization of basic math facts is what students need. The research has noted that any student who has a weak recall of basic math facts really is going to be bombarded with math in general, because it is so imperative in order to continue expanding in the area of math to have that firmly in place. Declarative knowledge related to basic facts reduces the cognitive burden that is placed on students, and it helps prevent a domino effect related to math failure by having those skills. If they don't have it, they are most likely going to fail with once you get to multi-digit addition, subtraction, multiplication, long division, fractions, decimals, percentage, etc. Everything is dependent on those basic math skills. One other crucial importance of this declarative knowledge, especially with number sense, is it gives them the opportunity to have that fluidity and flexibility with numbers and really have that sense of what numbers mean and the ability to perform mental mathematics and to look at the world and make comparisons and connections. It is so important to also take a look at the different ways that we can promote our instruction by selecting various modes of practice that are actually relevant and useful. Not something that's just going to drive the kids crazy, but switch it up a bit and have something that they can practice in a different way instead of the same worksheet day in, day out. Most important, set students up for success from the get-go. If you know that your students don't have a strong declarative knowledge with their facts, Why would you just push them on to something else without giving them time to really work on those facts? And you might want to start off with the basics. If you're just beginning to teach multiplication, does it make sense to have a student do all 0 through 12 in 2 seconds? No, that's even something that we build. We might give them first to begin with zeros, ones, and twos. Then we might throw in threes. Then we might throw in fives. Then we might throw in 10s, 11s. Some of those that it's a little bit easier to memorize those facts because there's little cheat ways to get through them. Even fact practice with the nines, using your fingers to figure out how to multiply 6 times 9, etc. And then going back and focusing on the 4s, the 6s, the 7s, the 8s, etc. that really don't play fair by other rules. Keep that in mind. There are a variety of instructional interventions that teachers can use to help students develop this declarative knowledge. Included among these are constant time delay, prompt fading procedures, 1-minute timing, instructional games. I'm really going to emphasize that one. Games are so important in this and fun for kids. 3-step labeling procedure and computer-based instruction. The biggest thing I think for myself was coming to the realization that not all kids, especially the students who we possibly identify cognitively, can maintain the memorization task. That's daunting in itself. But as we also know, if they don't have it and have a quick way to find the answer when they're getting up into algebra, they're going to get stuck in the process of figuring out the problem because of the basic math skill that they're lacking. So it is okay, I'm letting you know, it is okay to provide those students that we have evidence that states that they have issues with memory, to give them resources and tools such as a multiplication card, such as an addition card, such as a calculator, for goodness sakes, to at least get them past this beginning point as long as they know how to use those tools in order to find those math facts and to know those math facts quickly. It doesn't mean to give up and not teach declarative knowledge. Absolutely keep teaching it, but understand that the practice with it is going to take time and we don't want to overburden our kids. I know when I was in school, we had these fun games. To me, it was very fun because I understood math. We would stand in front of the class, we would go against each other. There would be 2 of us, and my teacher would flip a multiplication card in front of us. Whoever could come up with the answer the fastest got to stay in the game. That student who didn't know the practice problem was out for that part of the game, or we played around the world or other activities. Now, I will say that that is harming to our students who struggle with math and who have difficulty with memorization. So keeping in mind that those activities might be good for your higher performing students to keep them fluid with their facts practice, it might not be appropriate for your entire class. Doesn't mean that you can't use it. It just means maybe in a different situational setting that you can still do that activity, but just not make anybody feel bad if they don't have their facts memorized that quickly. Keeping that in mind, you can also do instructional games. There is the game 24. There is other sorts of fun games to really get them to understand their math facts, but not put the pressure so much on each individual kid and bring attention to that student. So I will be sharing some of those, as I had mentioned, on that math facts activity worksheet that I gave you attached in Blackboard. And basically, I think with that, the next part of this is also thinking about how you can use some of these strategies and inform your team of these strategies that they could use in their general education classroom with Tier 1 and Tier 2 students in the RTI process is very important. Once again, these strategies aren't supposed to be tucked away only for special education students. These strategies can be used for any student. It just may be the intensity of how much or how often you practice these with students is probably the deciding factor. Please, please, if anything else that I say, I want this to be in the front fourth of your mind. Anything that we teach really in life, I want it to be something that's going to be relevant and meaningful to a student in the long run. So teaching them that having this knowledge is important outside of school for daily life, work, leisure, etc. I know you could probably add more to this list, but just if they're planning a party, if they're breaking into equal groups for projects, if they're splitting a pizza, if they're doubling a recipe, if they're at the gas station and they don't know if they have enough money to pay for gas and want to know how many gallons of gas they can get for what they have in their pocket, those type of things are all informational that they need with having that declarative knowledge. So keep that in mind as we go through. Also make sure that you work with your graduate project group this week and make sure that you're staying on track for that. And if you have any questions or any thoughts about anything that was shared in this week's discussion, feel free to email or call. Thanks so much, and I hope you guys have a great week. Bye-bye.